Good morning, everybody. It's Thursday. It's September 21st. This is Spartan News, and I am the Spartan. I wanted to first of all apologize for no real post, no video yesterday. I'm very under the weather. I'm going to plow through this, and there's just so much information, so much news out there, inside, outside of Ukraine, in the Black Sea, UN, Azerbaijan, and etc. It's all over the map. So I'm going to motor through. I'm going to give you all the high points. Apologize for my either voice, coughing, anything like that, but we'll get through it. If you please do me a favor and like, subscribe, and share this video, this post, and that would be really appreciated. So to start off with, we'll go over the Russian losses over the last 24 hours, and then we'll get to some some exciting news, some amazing news, challenging news, etc. But regarding potential new airframes for Ukraine. So to cover off the losses for the last 24 hours, Russia lost approximately 490 troops that will no longer be taking part in the SMO, 3 tanks, 15 armored personnel vehicles, which is, the tanks is maybe on the low side. APVs is kind of mid-range, typically in the 20s is when you know things are kind of really moving. 41 artillery pieces is just insane. That's somewhere in the 40s, I believe, is an all-time record. I know we had a 42 recently. We have a 41. Just think about that. That's like almost 2 artillery pieces every hour, right? That would be 48 being destroyed. That's insane. 2 MLRS, 2 anti-aircraft warfare systems, and 29 drones were destroyed. That also pushes Russia over 87 billion in estimated military losses for the entire military conflict, which is quite substantial. And some of these numbers could be going up. You're going to see some reports of Russian airframes being hit on the ground and damaged. They may not add those. There's a helicopter and a few planes, but they may not add it because they're technically not destroyed, but they're also removed from the battlefield for a substantial period of time. As you know, any damage to the to a helicopter or a plane, especially to the skin, the outer hull of it, would prevent it from flying. So anyways, we'll see if those get added or not, but so getting right into it. So the first thing, which is very exciting news, and I apologize, this is the best article, but this website is just chock full of ads. But anyways, Ukraine is very close to obtaining French Mirage 2000Ds. So there are many variants. There are at least 4 or 5 variants of the Mirage. Each one specializes. The Mirage 2000D apparently is the version that the Ukrainians are most interested in. It is, I think it gets into the article a bit, but it's basically, it can be used for ground support, which is fantastic. It has the lift and capabilities of carrying the Storm Shadow, the Scalp, and the Taurus missiles. And you can see the array of weapons and externals that it can carry is quite substantial. These are very, very capable airframes. So going through the oh geez, sorry about that. Like these ads are just. Anyways, this is my first time on this page, and I can't see why anybody would want to visit it. It literally advertises everything, and I've closed down multiple ads, and they just keep popping. But anyways, let's get through this. According to the French site Intelligence Online, a delegation of Ukrainian Air Force headquarters commanders traveled to France to finalize the details of the future agreement under which they will receive an as yet undetermined number of Mirage 2000 fighters. In particular, Kyiv is interested in the specialized ground attack version of the Mirage 2000D. I do like the Delta Wing jets. There's something cool about them. I don't know. They maybe don't look as modern as the F-22, F-35, all that stuff, and even the Gripen. But I just do like the underside look of a Delta Wing, especially when it's got the either external fuel tanks and external missiles and all that sort of stuff on it. It's just a cool looking plane to me. But anyways, that's cool doesn't win you awards. Excuse me. As a result of the agreements reached last year between Vladimir Zelensky and Emmanuel Macron, France has already begun training unofficially a contingent of Ukrainian pilots on the Mirage weapon system for several months at 4 bases. These are the bases. I'm not going to butcher the French language. They love when I do that. So this rumor has been around for the better part of a year that Ukraine has had a contingent of pilots training on the Mirage, and this, and again, nothing in this article is 100% validated, but the reporting that Ukrainians are visiting France. They're basically ready to sign on the dotted line. Their pilots have been training on Mirage planes. They've chosen which variant they want, and the French produce them domestically. Specialized in precision strike, the Mirage 2000D are optimized for low altitude flight and ground attack, ground support, and can carry ASTAC electronic reconnaissance pods, advanced IR CCTV laser targeting pods, and launch Scalp, e.g. Storm Shadow cruise missiles and laser guided bombs. So capable. So you think about if you put together what, not quite, but if you put together with a Warthog, an Su-24, an F-16, kind of all the different things that they offer in those 3 platforms. This is your plane. It can fly low, it can fly slow, it can support the ground, it can jam electronics, it can carry a huge suite of missiles and bombs. France has more than 50 of these aircraft, which are receiving a midlife modernization due to their air-to-air to improve their air-to-air and air-to-ground capabilities, as well as complementary tactile centralized attack and navigation system that will facilitate man-machine dialogue. So basically improving the interface of pilot and machine to make it more sort of responsive. And you can even see, I'm not sure which variant this is. See if it says Mirage 2000D. So this is the Mirage 2000D. It says right here. And you can see it's got an air refueling nozzle as well. Not that the Ukrainians have in-air refueling capability, but it's just interesting that this also comes with that potential. Some of the French Mirage 2000D were upgraded with VHF FM radio and the Rover video transmission system, which together with the Link 16 data link system allows secure sharing of information gathered by the aircraft's pods over the theater of operations, with command centers or receiving information from friendly forces on the ground. So it's basically a way for the Mirage to act as ISR, intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, and any information that it gathers, it transmits it both directly to the pilot, but also to ground command centers, friendly forces, and in return, friendly forces and command centers transfer that data back to the Mirage. So that way, everybody's in touch. You get a full, 3D view of the battle space, and you also avoid green on green attacks, right? So the Mirage knows where the good guys are. These last features must be the most interesting for the Ukrainian Air Force, since not only will they be able to expand the number of platforms they can launch number of platforms that can launch Storm Shadow Scalp BG cruise missiles. So far used by the Su-24, but thanks to their Link 16, they'll be able to receive real-time information from the myriad of intelligence resources deployed by NATO to help Kyiv, and will be comparable with future F-16 fighters they will receive from countries such as Denmark and Netherlands. So there you go. Look for that. So if, and again, I don't know what the logistics tail is for. I haven't done any research on how complex the logistics tail is for a Mirage compared to a Gripen or an F-16. But if you think right now, the F-16s are being trained on, and they're definitely going to be provided. It sounds like they're already trained up on the Mirages and are very close to being provided. And then the Gripens are being test flown, and it seems to be progressing well. So you could have the Ukrainians with 3 different airframes, Western airframes, each of which is comparable to or better than the best that the Russians can put out there, and gives us more capabilities. Of the cruise, so Russia launched a massive attack. I've got some other video, but Russia launched a massive attack against Ukraine, targeting primarily, if not completely, civilian cities and targets on the night of September 21st, around 3:40 a.m. So early morning or late night, whatever you want to call it. They launched cruise missiles. The KH-101, the KH-55, and the KH-555, and the KH-55. In total, launches of 43 cruise missiles, 10 strategic aircraft came from 10 strategic airframes, primarily out of the Engels Air Force Base. The missiles were launched in several waves. They entered Ukrainian airspace from different directions, constantly changing their course along the route. If you recall, the other day I showed a cruise missile kind of doing this snaky S-curve through Ukrainian territory, and I believed that was to try to find air defense systems and possibly avoid them in the future. As a result of the combat operations of the Air Force in cooperation with the air defense, 36 of the 43 were shot down. So that means 7 unfortunately got through. To repel the attack, anti-aircraft missile troops, fighter aviation, air forces, units of mobile fire groups, and the Ukrainian Defense Forces, and other means were used. In addition, around 6 o'clock in the morning, the enemy struck with anti-aircraft guided missiles S-300 on Kharkiv. So they've modified the S-300 anti-aircraft missile system to be ground-to-ground, and those are very difficult to take out. And they did strike Kharkiv. Disgusting. So the Ukrainians hit the Russian military, and the Russians strike back on Ukrainian civilians. That's just the way this war goes. And yet they keep on doing it, but they will not break the Ukrainians. Okay, on to some better news to start with. Ukraine is picking apart, crushing the Russians on the Crimean Peninsula. This is a text message report that a swarm of UAVs flew over Ukraine, and by the sound of it, the swarm lasted over 10 minutes, and they heard over 40 different UAVs, drones, whatever it was, flying by. And again, this is not this is not an official military statement or anything like that. This is just basically from the ground. I'm not going to click on that. I don't want to get. Okay, so sorry, I left this one in here. Well, I'll show it. I didn't do a deep dive into this. Apparently, there was a strike on the Kerch Bridge. I apologize. I did not want to, but I'll let you see this. We'll see if something came of this or not. It's very quick. And then I will play it again and pause it on that. So that's the Kerch Bridge. And to me, it almost looks like something was shot down directly over top of the bridge, or it was a drone that was supposed to blow up over top of the bridge. It does not look like the bridge was impacted. to me. But again, it's such a short video. That's all I have. Anyways, I apologize. Back to Crimea. So, explosions were reported in the Sevastopol area, Crimea, reportedly somewhere in the direction of Inkerman, and presumably somewhere in the Belbek airfield direction. So there's so many hits and so much going on in Crimea. It's almost impossible to keep track of what is what. But what I will tell you too is that at least a couple of weeks ago, the intelligence belief was there was probably 5 S-400 systems in the entire peninsula covering it. And the S-400 has a pretty substantial range, so they were doing a good job covering it. Well, I'm not saying they were doing a good job. They had coverage. Whatever they can cover against is a different story. But 2 for sure S-400s were taken out, if not a third. There was kind of some mixed messaging from the intelligence that said an combined S-400, S-300 was taken out. But basically, Crimea's ability to defend, to even identify air targets has been greatly hampered. And that being said, the S-400, it's believed that if it can get eyes on on a Storm Shadow or a Scalp, it can at least engage it, if maybe not take it out. But some of these S-400s were taken out, both in Crimea and in Ukraine, the rest of Ukraine, with one drone hovering over an S-400 and another drone striking the S-400, and the S-400 not reacting at all. So the radar that it's used is not picking up drones and other vehicles. Let's put it that way. So here's smoke on the horizon. There's a video of smoke on the horizon. There's Sevastopol, right? The temporary occupied naval base. And there is Inkerman. Except several minutes before reports about explosions, you got to get your emphasis on the right syllable. There were messages about Russians creating a smokescreen in Sevastopol Bay near Inkerman. So the Russians have used this tactic on the Kerch Bridge. They've tested it and used it. They believe somehow, some way that they're going to stop targets, the bridge from being hit, or military targets from being hit. So you can see this looks to be the opening of Sevastopol harbor, potentially. And it looks like those might be, I don't know, it's hard to tell if those are military ships. And then there's another angle. So basically, and yes, that smokescreen would be effective against non-GPS guided, visually guided drones, whether they be FPV or kamikaze long distance or whatever. Here's a kind of a cool video. This is in Crimea. Somebody got footage of a missile that was reportedly filmed prior to the explosion reports. Missiles look like it's a Storm Shadow or a Scalp. You gotta watch it. It's a fast mover.
Ракеты пошли. Storm Shadow.
That thing is trucking. One more time.
Ракеты пошли. Storm Shadow.
And yes, it does look like a Scalp or Storm Shadow to me, but quite interesting. The source claims that this video was filmed near Simferopol. If so, this might indicate that the attack was made not from the sea direction, but from land. So here's Simferopol. Again, that's just pure speculation, but the amount of hits on Crimea, I wouldn't be surprised if there was... I wouldn't be surprised if you didn't find out afterwards that there were FPV type drones or other type of drones that were launched domestically from inside of Crimea, as well as cruise missiles, long distance kamikaze suicide drones, etc. It's pure speculation, but the Ukrainians don't typically go at these targets with one platform. They tend to go with special forces, people on the ground providing eyes on, FPV drones, visual identification drones, cruise missiles, um, longer distance domestically made drones. As claimed, the hit was at the Russian military base near the village of Verkhnasov, near Sevastopol. That is a pretty substantial hit. And that's where that is located, northeast of Sevastopol. So again, you can see just area after area after area. Reportedly, fire targeted area in Verkhnasodova near Sevastopol is still ongoing. So the fire is still burning. NASA's firms is picking it up now. NASA's firms, it has to be, I think, a fire longer than 5 minutes and 50 square meters, something like that, or 15 minutes and 50 square meters for the firm's satellite to pick up the fire and register it. So there's yet another closer angle, it looks like, of the ongoing fire on the military base. And there it's registered on firms now as well. This is pretty impressive as well. Satellite imagery of the aftermath of the strike on the Russian military base, the Black Sea Fleet command post near that town. So this is the command structure where the basically base commanders, etc., either live, meet, etc. Here's before, and there's after. So you can see that entire wing of the building is gone. Once again, before, after. That's a substantial strike that took it down to the foundation but basement even. Aftermath of the Ukrainian strike on the Black Sea Fleet command post near Sevastopol. On August 22nd and then September 21st, Russia claimed that all rockets were intercepted. Somewhere, I don't know if we have it. Somewhere it states too that there was a confirmation. Maybe it's on another tab, but there was a confirmation that the commanders were actually in the building too. It wasn't just that the building was hit. The commanders were actually in the building. I think I've got that on somewhere else. Here we go. Excuse me 1 second. New details of the attack on the command post of the Russian Black Sea Fleet near Sevastopol have emerged. It was a joint special operation of the security services of Ukraine, the Air Force, and the Navy of the Ukrainian Armed Forces. Sources in the SBU reported that military base was destroyed by missiles that hit the target precisely. I heard one report up to 7 different strikes, but we'll see. The Russian generals designated this base as their backup command post so that they would not be caught behind the main deployment site. The strike was carried out after the security service verified data that the commanders of the enemy fleet were indeed present in the military unit. Currently, not only the enemy's manpower is affected, but also the expensive military systems that were located at the base. So they may have hit troops, but they've hit command and control and equipment at this base. And I just like to scroll and surprise myself to see what's coming up. Here we go. Also, our special services report that that initially the airfield was attacked by a large number of UAVs, which went back to that text message about, like 40 UAVs passing overhead, to overload the enemy's air defense system, after which the targets were struck by Neptune missiles. Update this Pantsir. So a Pantsir system like this, so let's say this Pantsir system has got 12 missiles, 9 or 12 missiles on board and ready to fire. So if let's say the Pantsir is on this base, is protecting this base, has its radar on, and it's able to pick up the drones. If this thing is 9 to 12 missiles ready to go, and a swarm of 40 drones comes over the horizon, this Pantsir is going to be overwhelmed if it even picks them all up. It can take out 9 of them, and then after that, you need to reload. And by the time you've reloaded, the other 31 drones have hit their targets, and maybe the Neptune missile or something has hit the Pantsir, right? This night, the SBU and the Navy launched a large-scale fire attack on the Saki military base in occupied Crimea. So that's a different military base from the one that we were looking at before. There were at least 12 combat aircraft, Su-24s and Su-30s at the airfield, as well as a Pantsir manpad. So Saki, let's do this. Let's go to deep state. Oh no. Okay. I'll remember where that is. So I'll cut that. That's something else to show you guys later. Saki military. Oh, look, my caps is on. Okay, so there's the Saki military base up here, right? And there's Sevastopol down there, okay? So just wanted you guys to be aware these are two different bases, and the S-400s, one S-400 was taken out here, one S-400 was taken out here, the Special Forces landed here, was it here? I think so, and apparently destroyed other equipment, took some away, removed about 30 troops, 30 Russian troops, etc. So this whole western side, and Sevastopol's obviously been hit, dry dock and everything, numerous ships. So now they've gone after the Pantsir air defense system and the planes that were located at this particular base. And why? I'm glad Russia does it, but if I was in charge of the Russian military in Crimea, or at least around here, I would say to myself, I just lost my air cover. Special forces are landing, drones are hitting, 2 S-400 systems have been taken out. I am not going to keep any planes or anything located here. They're going to be somewhere over here. I know there's other bases elsewhere, but they're going to be away from the coast. So if they had those planes, etc., at this particular base, good on the Ukrainians for taking advantage. I just want to put that map back the where it was. No, it's not going to go. Anyways, I won't let you stare at that for too much longer. So this is what I was going to show you, and I'll go back up there. But moving on, Ukrainian vehicles have now breached the Surovikin line. So, and that is in this particular area. Oh, look, my marker's still there. I love it. So these anti-tank, anti-personnel, Dragon's Teeth, etc., right? These lines here, these are the Surovikin lines, and they've obviously breached the first, and people didn't really, some people said that the first line of trenches that they breached was not the Surovikin line, it was just the front line. And then other people said, so this is the first layer of the Surovikin line, this is the second, that's the third, or that's the first, and that's the second, and this is just extra, whatever. It's semantics. But long story short is, this is Verbove. These two trench networks are the what's widely accepted as part of the Surovikin line. There was both a trench for troops to defend. There was an anti-tank trench with Dragon's Teeth and mines, right? At least. And obviously under watch of ATGMs and all that stuff, right? So, oh yeah, sorry, before I leave there, just to kind of point out, so this is the gray zone, right? So this is contested. This blue has been confirmed taken by the Ukrainians within the last 2 weeks. And while they've been moving forward in small units, the belief was that they hadn't brought forward any sort of middle to heavy mechanized support, such as, tanks, Bradleys, all that sort of stuff. So, according to this article, vehicles have been brought across as well. Based on geolocated footage, as expected, the first footage of the Ukrainian vehicles past the Syro-Vican line emerged behind the trench system protecting the first Syro-Vican line. On the footage, you see vehicles from the 82nd Air Assault Brigade crossing the trench system. Breach is a very complex operation. Yes, it is, because especially the anti-tank trench, right? You've got to fill in that trench somehow. You've got to move the Dragon's Teeth, demine it, get your vehicle across, all while not getting struck by what you believe would be Russian troops ready to defend that from a distance. The Russian defensive line consisted of anti-tank ditch, Dragon's Teeth, and a trench system with direct fire on the previous two, all covered by artillery. First recon elements went in, breached, and made a foothold in the trench system, followed by infantry units to clear the trenches and widen the gap of enemy direct fire of the breach. The timelines are the tree lines are full of trenches and defensive positions that need to be cleared before vehicles can come closer. Very difficult. It's a difficult balance between having direct fire support from armored vehicles and enough standoff from enemy anti-tank weapons, all while being in artillery range. So you're going to be in artillery range no matter what. Russian artillery, just call it 25 kilometers. So they're within, when you're trying to breach a trench line, you're within artillery range at all points. You're trying to remove the eyes and ears from the Russians, make them move far enough back that you can move quickly to do certain things, like fill in a trench, get a couple vehicles across, do some demining activities, knowing that you're going to be spotted, but your time to react is greater if you've pushed the enemy and their artillery back further. It seems that the Ukrainian army succeeded in one of the most complex operations in recent history. And this will not get a lot of fanfare. It's not that big of a deal to the layman, but it is a massive deal to be. It's more difficult than crossing a waterway. It seems that the Ukrainian army succeeded in one of the most complex operations in recent history of conventional warfare by breaching a 3-layered defense system without air superiority and within artillery range. Doesn't get done anywhere else. This one's a little potatoey, but here is Verbove. Here is the breach of that line, right, that I told you about right there. It's really hard to kind of analyze the two together, but here's the first Syro-Vican defense line right there and right there. You can see that trench network there, right? Ditch and Dragon's Teeth. There's another trench system, probably hard for you to see here, here, and here. And these blue markers are Ukrainian troops. So you can see they're past that trench. They're in that trench. They're past this one here, and they're between the two. And this one here, is traveling between these two, across and between these two trench networks. So very, very impressive, and this just won't get the press that it's supposed to, unfortunately. Here you see armored vehicles, the 82nd Assault Brigade crossing the trench system, Martyr and Striker assault west of Verbove, behind the main line. I can't do that. Sounds like Rammstein's intro, but okay, and there you go. That really potatoey video quality. I apologize, but you can see the Ukrainian vehicles moving past the trench system. And I do not read or speak Cyrillic. And there's a fair amount. That's probably 6 vehicles I'm counting so far. Here comes one here, another one here. There's a trench of some sort right there that they're across easily. And you see once they got behind the trench, they don't appear to have any fear of mines. Oh, wait. Unless they just set one off there. That could have been a mine clearing vehicle. Something's hitting smoking there if that was the one that just cleared that mine or hit that mine. Could be Russian vehicle. Yeah, he just ran over a mine. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. And that's artillery. There's another artillery strike there. Another, that could be a mine. So I'll take it back. I think they hit some mines. That to me looked like that vehicle set off that mine from a distance. Yeah, it's going to show it again. Watch what he does. I think he shoots at that mine. Okay, and now you've got some dismounts, and you've got what looks like, I think is that a 50 cal supporting them as they dismount. And there's some destruction afterwards. It just pockmarked. A couple of burning vehicles, a couple of active vehicles. Here's proof as well, and this is a better visual, right? So here's the Syro-Viken line, one trench, the other trench, the other trench, and there is a Ukrainian vehicle on the east side of it. Thank you, sir. This is kind of like the map that I showed you, but that's a mess. Based on recently uploaded video by Russians, it's evident that Ukrainian forces successfully penetrated the Syro-Viken line and disembarked infantry beyond it, satellite, which we just saw. So that was potentially the Russian drone. Satellite imagery substantiates these developments, hinting at Ukrainian vehicles crossing the Syro-Viken line. So this is the last part we'll do on this one, but because we just saw this in video, right? But again, anti-tank trench, Dragon's Teeth, penetration area, Syro-Viken line. So you can see it's all over here. And yet over here, we've got the smoke screen deployed, Russian, Ukrainian vehicles hitting mines or taking them out, etc. So they are well east of it and approaching the outskirts. This is Verbove over here. So they are approaching the outskirts of Verbove. This seems like a pretty good push. I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't hear about Verbove starting to come under direct pressure. And again, that's just one more look at that. There's Verbove. There's Russian held territory, contested. This area here is where they are disembarking the Ukrainian troops for their, what I believe would be the assault on Verbove. And if you back this up a bit, so there's a fair amount of Russian troops right here, right? And if you extend this control area for the Ukrainians to the east, along the Verbove front, for example, these units here are going to be at serious risk of being encircled because obviously they're, part of a peninsula, salient, whatever you want to call it. You've got obviously Ukrainian troops up here manning this front line. You've got pressure coming from this way, and if these guys are going to do an end around and are going to start to get towards this trench network here, once you get into this trench network here, they already are on this side. But if they were to travel this along, the further east they go, the more encircled these units are going to feel, and the more likely they are to going to pull back, either intentionally or be forced to pull back because of the fact that they're starting to get fire from the rear. And once the Ukrainians get into these trenches, they basically turn into defensive trenches for the Ukrainians, and they can use them as an offensive springboard. Okay. Yeah, so this one's related to Bakhmut. Really quickly, I wanted to touch on this one. The armed forces of Ukraine continue to push back the enemy in the Bakhmut direction. They already have fire control of the Bakhmut Horlivka highway, complicating logistics of the Russian army greatly. Intense fighting continues in the area of the eastern group of troops. basically what's that showing is that I'll just move over to Bakhmut real quick, which is right here. And the Ukrainians are basically cutting around the backside of Bakhmut and are starting to basically pressure it from multiple sides, including the south. And they will eventually be able to, they have fire control over all of the supply roads leading into and out of Bakhmut, but they also, sorry, I was looking at the wrong spot. There's Bakhmut. They are basically, what that article is basically stating is the Ukrainians are pressuring more and more and getting line of sight, not just, they've got obviously got artillery fire control over this entire area if they can see what they want to hit, but they're almost in line of sight, and medium-sized mortar, tanks, etc., are starting to have the ability to hit this supply road. And if you look, there is only one supply road coming from the east that is supplying the Bakhmut area. If they can hit this area right here, if they can get this under line of sight fire control to the point where no vehicles can travel without being hit, then the Ukrainians are basically going to be able to starve Bakhmut without having to go into it. So they're pressuring Bakhmut from the west, but primarily with the Klishchivka, Andriivka, etc. They're going around the back end and they're going to cut it off. So that's what the point of that article was. In some troubling news in the Black Sea, this particular tanker struck what they believe was a Russian mine. It flooded the engine compartment around 6:50 a.m. It's in Romanian waters. This is not in Odessa or something like that. This is in Romanian waters. This was a ship, I believe, that was traveling to a Ukrainian port and struck a mine. So watch this space on that one. More to come. It's unfortunate and not surprising. I've always believed that the Russians would set some mines free and let them drift if the currents provided the right opportunity to do so, and allow those mines to either wash up on shore and scare people, or more likely, more desirably from a Russian standpoint, potentially hit a ship. And just causing angst and nervousness, and causing more people to pause and possibly not bring their ships in to pick up grain, etc. So this was the just a little bit more on the missile strike from Russia last night on Ukraine. In Cherkasky, a hotel building and pavilions in a market were burned. 7 people were injured. In Kyiv, 7 people, including a 9-year-old child, were injured by falling debris. A plant was damaged. Fires broke out on the territory. Debris fell in the territory of a medical facility. Also, a private sector was damaged. 2 people were injured. In Kharkiv, 3 people were wounded. Several warehouses and industrial buildings were on fire. In Rivne region, strikes on the energy and civilian infrastructure. A service station and 5 cars located in the territory were damaged. In Lviv, destruction and fire in an industrial area. Kherson, 3 people were killed and 5 wounded. Russia shelled a residential area, damaging residential buildings, vehicles, and power lines. So you can see all of the targets were energy, infrastructure, civilian, and President Zelensky basically made it clear that if the Russians are going to target Ukraine's energy infrastructure, especially this winter, that Ukraine is well within its rights to target Russia's energy infrastructure back. Ukraine will do everything possible to not kill any or injure any civilians, but believe it that they can hit Russia's energy infrastructure and turn out the lights in St. Petersburg, Moscow, and any other city that they want to. Sad. Here's another video shared by the State Emergency Service showing the aftermath of the Russian attack. first responders know there's a good chance that they could get hit because Russia likes to double tap and send missiles in 30 to 40 minutes after the first one to try to take out the first responders. And yet they do their job. This just proves that Ukraine does not have too much or enough air defense. And hate to say it, I don't take joy in it, but it is karma in a way, if you want to call it that, or ironic or whatever. As a result of the latest missile strike by Russian terrorists, the PepsiCo factory in Vyzhneve, Kyiv region, was devastated. PepsiCo is listed on the list of war sponsors since it still operates in Russia. They paid for the missile that destroyed their facility with their taxes in Russia. So they haven't shut down their operations in Russia. They're paying taxes to the Russian government. The Russian government uses taxes, etc., to fund its military operations. It builds missiles, fires those missiles into Ukraine, and strikes a Pepsi facility in Ukraine. I don't know what to say other than that. In Moscow, Russia burning. It's a day ending in Y, so something in Russia and usually in Moscow is burning. In Moscow, the Russian Federation, a building materials warehouse caught fire. Russian mass media reports. And yes, the odd fire could actually be just a fire, but Moscow has more than its fair share. Russia has more than its fair share. And sometimes when you hear something is building materials, warehouse or whatever, it turns out that it's a storage facility for the military. The Ukrainians don't blindly hit objects. If this is a Ukrainian or partisan strike, there was a reason behind it. And they're not going to hit a Home Depot, you know. This one is the one that I talked about at the start. So Ukraine's GUR blew up an Antonovsky 148, an AN 148, an Ilyushin 20 planes, and an Mi 28N attack helicopter belonging to Russia's 354th Spetsnaz Aviation Regiment. So that's their Special Forces Aviation Regiment at Chkalovsky Airfield on the outskirts of Moscow, just 18 miles from the Kremlin. The airfield is home to Putin's fleet of doomsday planes. So Putin has these planes that basically will, he's supposed to stay in the air in them, you know, if by chance there was a nuclear war. And that's where they're located. So this plane here, and that is a electronics. It's either an electronic warfare or an electronic observation pod. I apologize, I can't remember which one it is, or maybe it's both. But and there's the attack helicopter, which kind of looks like a little bit of a mix between an Apache and a Cobra. So it's got the skinny body of a Cobra. It's got some of the armaments of Apache. I'm not saying it's close to quality of either one of those, but anyways. So again, reiterate, 18 miles from the Kremlin on Putin's basically special forces, doomsday, private, but not private, but specialized military base. Somebody, and by all accounts it was hand grenades or some sort of incendiary devices, hit all three of these vehicles and took them out of operation. And that was on September 18th. The reports just came out now. See if there's anything more that's been added. But yes, I saw another report said it was most likely partisan. It was most likely by hand. So anyways, very cool. So here we have a Ukrainian Su-24M flying. So basically this is the plane that launches the Scalp and Storm Shadow missiles, as well as offers ground support. It's basically like what we talked about with the Mirage. Um, it's a tough little plane. It's old, but it's doing yeoman's work. And this is a low flight, and who knows? Maybe this is coming back after launching cruise missiles at Crimea. Watch how low this guy flies. Like, like, come on. Watch that again. Over the trees, and you're not sure if he's making it over these power lines. Damn. He is ground hugging. They do not want to be taken out. If you hug the ground like that, it's almost impossible for anti-aircraft systems to pick you up. You're basically part of the ground. But it's risky. You got to make sure that you know exactly what's in front of you. This is probably the closest tank-on-tank battle you're ever going to see in history. So here we have a Ukrainian T-64 and a Russian T-72. So this, have I got that right? Yes. Ukrainian T-64BV and a Russian T-72B3. So technically, the Russian tank is 10 years younger than the Ukrainian tank, and they are 40 feet away from each other and trying to blast each other through the tree line. Somebody's not walking away. Remember, the Ukrainian is there. So he's poking back and forth. Where are you? Where are you? The Russian's trying to get a good look, and then the Ukrainian gets him. Ukrainian's probably got thermal optics on that, and he can see the tank through the trees, even if he can't see it. You know what I mean? He probably saw the heat signature, so he took it out there. Second shot basically penetrates the hull. Now he gets a better angle. I think he's going to put one more in. I don't know, was that it? I thought there was a third shot. Anyways, let's watch one more time. So first one looks like he gets the track, maybe the engine. Pieces are flying off of it like it's done already. As soon as a tank's engine is done, the T-Series, and then the second one just right into it. As soon as the engine is done on a T-Series tank, the hydraulics go and they can't move the turret, they can't fire, they can't do anything anymore. It just basically shuts it down. So this is in the Zaporizhia Oblast. The Ukrainian 110th Territorial Defense Force hit a Russian abandoned BMP. For sensors out there, there's nobody in this. It's just an abandoned vehicle with a high explosive anti-tank munition dropped from a heavy drone bomber. So these heavy drones now, these octocopters, etc., are able to carry modified RPGs. These RPGs have shape charges in them, and they can penetrate a large amount of armor, especially top-down armor. Like this is easy peasy, and clearly this BMP has got some ammunition in it, or yeah, it's got to be ammunition. I mean, just watch. Now I believe the hatches are open, so that tells you that it's abandoned. And this shot hits it dead on, and like there is the turret ring. Like this doesn't just blow up. What a great tune, by the way. I'm gonna get copyright on that one. Yeah, I'm gonna shut that down. I love that song, but one more time, watch it without me clicking the. So you can see the hatch open, and then comes apart like a movie. And then when you look at what's left, it looks like there's nothing left. So there you go. Good work by them. So this was another recap, and I kind of had the articles in different spots. Excuse me. This was another Ukrainian commentary on the Bakhmut area, basically reiterating what I said before about cutting off Bakhmut. The access to the Andriivka and Klishchivka gives us the opportunity to get closer to Bakhmut-Horlivka highway, which is already under fire control. Mortars and anti-tank guns are already getting there. Supplying the Russian Federation in this direction has already become more difficult and will continue to become more difficult. So they're going to starve Bakhmut out. They're not going to enter it until it's good and ready to be taken with minimal pushback from the Russians. So here's a two-parter. So one, these Russians right here, these from the 442nd Regiment, part of a mortar battalion, fighting near Klishchivka, are complaining about literally everything. This one, I've seen a couple complaints from them. I received an order to assemble a group of 6 people for a certain, no return kind of assault. We will not refuse, and we do our duty. Also, the ammunition is terrible. It doesn't even fly and doesn't explode. So sometimes they're putting the ammo in and trying to fire it, and it just won't fire. Or sometimes they fire and it's a dud and it flies off in the distance and lands like a chunk of metal and doesn't explode. Sometimes, even worse, they explode in the barrel. We basically have nothing to work with. And these are artillerists. These are not frontline infantry. We have basically nothing to work with. This morning, something terrible happened. A person, not from our unit, did that. And then everyone is in fear. A year has passed and we haven't had a single vacation yet. We don't refuse our duties, but we are simply sent to a certain ending. Morale is high, Igor. And then, I heard a secondary complaint from these guys, but along the same lines, basically, they are artillerists and they were basically sent to the front to act as infantry because their artillery unit ran out of ammo. Not only did the ammo that they have not work anymore, but they had no more ammo. So they had nothing to do, nothing to fire. And their commander basically said, okay, well, if you can't fire artillery shells, off you go to the front line. And then when they were on the front line, they had troops that lined up behind them and basically said, if you try to retreat, we're going to end you. And apparently this group then mass surrendered to the Ukrainians. In this one, it doesn't seem like they're saying they surrendered, but I saw another one that says this is a Ukrainian video. To me, it doesn't look like a Ukrainian video because none of them, I don't think the Ukrainians would allow them to all stand together like that, not under more of a guard scenario and do a group video. So to me, I think the more likely scenario is they're filming this, as the group help videos that they sent back home. Also, hopefully this one shows up tomorrow on the report. Russian military blogger Rybar reported that a recent crash of an Su-34 plane in the Kashira district in the Vorozhne region due to a malfunction. The Sukhoi Su-24 supersonic fighter bomber developed by the Soviet Union and costs approximately $42 million. It is an aircraft that has variable geometry wings, like swept wings, 2 engines, not really too important. This is important news, but it's really funny to see a Russian blogger going out of his way to give the air of truth of the news communicated by the Russian government, which loves untruths. The Russian Ministry of Defense stated that there was a malfunction, and this is true. There is no point looking for a cat in a dark room. Of course, it can be assumed that the cause of such an incident was sabotage. Conspiracy theorists in the comments of city chats will talk about a certain Ukraine DRG with man pads. So one way or the other, the Russians are down an Su-34, which is more modern than the Ukrainian Su-24 because it has the swept wing. I don't think the Ukrainian one does. After Russia voiced its opposition, didn't want the words to go away. Russia, so this is at the UN General Assembly, UNGA, and basically Russia tried to stop Ukraine from speaking at the UN General Assembly, and God love him, but Albania's president, Edi Rama, told the Russians that there's an easy solution to the issue. Get out of Ukraine and Zelensky won't take the floor.
Zelensky speaking.
Yeah, let's do this from the start.
But as far as you repeated many times that the violation here is about President Zelensky speaking before the Council members. There is a solution for this if you agree. You stop the war and President Zelensky will not take the floor. But
How's that?
as far as
Mic
you
drop.
repeated many times
Oh, sorry, thought I paused
that
it. Getting close to the end here. Breaking news: Russia's defense ministry announced that 8 Russian peacekeeping soldiers have been killed in Azerbaijan attack on a Russian vehicle in Nagorno-Karabakh region. So the Russians that were supposed to be peacekeeping between Armenia and Azerbaijan obviously didn't do any peacekeeping. They were withdrawing in a convoy, and apparently somebody struck the convoy thinking it was an enemy convoy, or just struck the convoy because they wanted to, and then claimed that they thought it was an enemy convoy and not the peacekeepers. Why is this relevant? Well, one of the people in that convoy, strangely enough, was deputy commander of the RMK in Nagorno-Karabakh, Ivan Kovgan, who was also the deputy commander of the submarine forces of the Northern Fleet of the Russian Federation. So why the deputy commander of submarine forces is in a peacekeeping vehicle in between 2 landlocked and disputed and fighting countries is beyond me. Why someone of his stature and rank is that close to the fighting shows a callous disregard for your rank and file, not rank and file, for your military command structure. No way, shape, or form. He's an ideal target for anybody, right? You don't put him on the front line. You don't put him between 2 warring factions. He's supposed to be somewhere back, getting reports on the front lines. Anyways, so he's no longer with us, and he also commands the submarine fleet. Well, maybe he had some spare time in his hands, since the submarine fleet is a little smaller than it used to be. Last thing, feel-good moment of the day. I want to end on a high note, cute note, and here's a polar bear and her cub living their best life. Fun fact, guess what color polar bear's skin is? It's black. If you shaved off all their white fur, you'd see a black bear underneath. Their hairs are conical in shape, and they allow the sunlight and heat to travel down the shafts of the hair and warm the skin, which is attracted by the black skin while still giving them camouflage. And that little cub is cute AF. That is it. I hope you all have a great day. Thanks for bearing with me. Sorry about the voice quality, etc., and a little disjointed on some of the presentation, but got some key points out there. Hope you all have a great day. We'll talk soon. Slava Ukraini.